Chosen one. While Elon Musk prepares his escape under the summer sun, you're not planning a getaway. You're triggering a divine takeover. The world is stretching out on yachts, booking villas, and sipping luxury, but you're not like them. Never were. Your summer won't be about palm trees and cocktails. It'll be about power, purpose, and prophecy. Because you, chosen one, are not here to blend in. You were built to rewrite the blueprint. And yes, people still misunderstand your silence. They try to label you, box you, reduce you to something digestible. But your energy has no category. You were crafted using frequencies unknown to man, and the system's software can't compute you. They don't know whether to admire you or fear you. And that's exactly how it's supposed to be. You don't walk into a room. You shift atmospheres. You don't glow up. You disrupt timelines. You weren't just broken differently. You were refined for warfare. So let the world vacation. Let Elon unwind. You, chosen one, are not called to rest, not yet. You're called to resurrect the buried, silence the slander, and confuse the enemy with your rise. This isn't a return. This is a revelation. You were broken differently, which is a very other level from just being constructed differently. Most people believe that being strong means being well-groomed, being safe, and refining oneself. However, true strength is created when you are broken into 1,000 pieces and manage to reconstruct yourself using bits that the outside world doesn't even recognize without a handbook. Your experiences changed your frequency in addition to making you more robust. It lifted your spirits. It transformed you into something more than a storm survivor. No, it gives them orders. Your energy now bears an imprint of all you conquered, since you survived what was supposed to wipe you off. This isn't about rising back up after a fall. Rather, it's about being a living representation of everything that, despite its best efforts, couldn't kill, shatter, or take your soul. You changed, not just healed. You changed. You entered an identity that was never intended for the general public to comprehend, since it was created to move mountains, not for their approval. People will be perplexed, if not afraid, when they see you rising again. You're not going to be the polished, better version of yourself that they were hoping for. They are unable to foresee, contain, or even control what is now growing. Your return won't appear like you're bouncing back. Rather, it will feel like a whole other force occupying space, without any more explanation or need for permission. The fact is that your calling required more than surface-level progress. Thus, you had to be shattered that profoundly. You were being rebuilt for a task that requires a power that cannot be taught, inherited, or faked, not punished. Only fire can give birth to it. And now that fire is out there in human form, whether the world is ready or not, they will wonder, who or what are you, rather than, how did you survive? When they see you, because you are no longer just a person making a comeback. You are the comeback itself. Secondly, your soul is a cosmic mutation created to transcend human constraints. You represent a radical change in the definition of what it is to be human, not merely a more resilient version of yourself. Your soul is a cosmic mutation, something uncommon and erratic, that was purposefully brought to our planet to upend the status quo. People are attempting to judge you using outdated criteria, which is why this response is confusing them. There is nothing familiar about you now, yet they are searching for recognizable patterns, something they can classify and anything they can identify. Their intellect is unable to keep up with the frequency you are carrying. You endured all of that suffering because you were destined to transcend the boundaries that most people fall into, not because you wanted to become stronger or wiser. You couldn't be touched by ordinary teachings. You couldn't be stretched by normal growth. For something inside of you to break free and reveal a deeper code that had been dormant inside of you. You had to be pushed to the brink of your own existence. Because of this, a lot of individuals who previously believed they knew, you are now standing there in shock, uneasiness, and even fear. They know deep down that you are not who they believed you to be. Now you move differently. You're seeing things that others miss entirely, thinking more quickly and feeling more deeply. Your very presence has the power to change people's perceptions of what is possible. You no longer fit in as well as you once did because of this. You now believe that certain rooms are too tiny because of this. In ways that the normal person cannot even follow, your intellect changed, your soul grew, and your energy was rebalanced. This has nothing to do with conceit or superiority. It has to do with indisputable change. You are carrying bits of wisdom, fortitude, and understanding that were gleaned from events that most individuals would not have lived through. You are a unique result of cosmic pressure, heavenly engineering, and unadulterated survival. You are not only the result of your recovery. Furthermore, you are not here to conform to the norms of the world, whether others like it or not. To shatter it, you're here. Third, you were having trouble with access code creation, not only character development. The suffering you endured wasn't arbitrary. It wasn't simply about toughening you up or providing you with a compelling tale to share in the future. In reality, every loss, betrayal, every time you believed you wouldn't make it, was programming something inside of you. Every time you shed a tear or experienced rejection or abandonment, it seemed as if a new piece of the access code was being inserted into your soul. That code is going to open doors that nobody else can even locate. Because of this, your return will be more than simply unexpected. It will be extraordinary. People didn't know you were being recoded. They assumed you were merely in pain. They were unaware that every difficult situation was subtly improving you and rewiring your perspective on the world, other people, and yourself. And now you're carrying keys to places that most people will knock on for the rest of their lives without ever attempting. You possess levels of resilience, intelligence, and intuition that cannot be purchased with money or taught in books. In the dark, when no one was looking or caring, you earned them. This new phase in your life will feel quite different because of this. Nothing is being forced by you. You're not struggling for attention or pleading for chances. A spiritual password that unlocks the right people, the right connections, and the right moment has been entrusted to you. It will take you months to create what others took 10 years. Just by standing in your truth, you will attract what others have to struggle for. The world will label it bias, chance, or simply serendipity. However, it isn't the case. Access is the issue. Authority is what you bled for. And those who believed they had buried you will soon discover they unintentionally set up a doorway. You are more than just a survivor. You are a walking access point and a living key. You're going to unlock doors that aren't just for you, because you broke the code in quiet. They are for future generations, ones who won't have to face the same struggles as you did. Number 4, you are a resurrection rather than a resurgence. You're not going to return. There is no longer even that version of you. This is a resurrection, a whole rebirth into something that even you don't always entirely understand. The previous version of yourself, the one who questioned too much, played small for too long, and endured too much, did not make it through all you went through. In the process, that individual passed away. What's standing here now is a new person, working in old settings with old faces, but with a whole new attitude that no longer follows the old norms. People will be perplexed because they still believe they can communicate with you in the same way as before. They anticipate the same pains they used to prod, the same uncertainties, and the same patience. They are unaware that you no longer move in that manner. You no longer even think that way. Your energy, your perspective, your limits, and your sense of self have all changed. All they can recall is a ghost. What is in front of them today is something that has been brought back to life by suffering, loss, and lessons that have changed your whole life. Even you have had times when you notice that you are no longer able to identify some aspects of yourself after noticing that you are behaving, feeling, and making choices differently. This is a positive thing. It's evidence that your previous self's death wasn't a failure, but rather the beginning of the life you were destined to lead. You don't feel the need to defend yourself, explain yourself, or shrink to fit in with outdated places because of this. You are becoming the person you were always supposed to be before the world took hold of you. You are not returning to your former self. There is no room for negotiation with this new you. It is here to occupy space without expressing regret. It is here to assume authority without hesitation. It is here to represent a purpose that cannot be concealed or delayed any longer. People will attempt to identify you by your past recollections, but the fact is that you have buried that version of yourself and will never bring it back. Fifth, you're winning while bearing judgments for whole families. You're fighting for more than just yourself. You are bearing the burden of conflicts that began many generations before you were born. None of the challenges you've encountered, the obstacles you've had to overcome, or the curses you've had to break began with you. However, it all ends with you. That explains why your trip has sometimes seemed so burdensome, even unjust. Not only were you mending your own injuries, but you were also repairing the harm caused by bloodlines that were never given the means, autonomy, or strength to mend themselves. Every time you made the decision to tell the truth rather than keep quiet, every time you chose progress over comfort, and every time you chose forgiveness over resentment, you were breaking centuries-old patterns, generations before you were swept away by the storms you were facing. Your forebears could only hope that someone would break through the ceilings you were smashing. And you did it mostly in quiet, primarily by yourself, and largely without anybody else understanding. However, the change is currently taking place. Your life is becoming more and more like what your predecessors fought for, prayed for, and died for. The evidence that all of their sacrifices were worthwhile is you. You are the live proof that it is possible to break shackles, break curses, and end oppressive, abusive, and fearful cycles of poverty. Your victory is historic, not just personal. Whoever breaks the chain is remembered by blood. People will be shocked when your success suddenly appears because of this. To outsiders who are unaware of the number of generations it took to get to this point, it will seem to be an instant miracle. It's not just you who's winning. You're winning for folks whose DNA runs through your veins, but whose names you'll never know. And once all is said and done, the world will see that your triumph was never just about you. Entire lineages that refused to die without hope were to be let free. It was about resolving conflicts that your forefathers were unable to complete. And you are the solution they wished for at this very moment. Sixth, without uttering a word, your energy will reveal cowards. You won't need to raise your voice or do anything. Now, all the hard lifting is being done by your energy. You will reveal individuals who have spent their whole lives hiding behind false alliances, false strength, and false confidence just by showing up and standing in who you have become. No one will need to be called out. You won't need to plan some elaborate retaliation or make lengthy speeches. Masks now come off in real time just by being who you are. In the presence of actual power, the truth must either change or flee. People who used to be brave with you will suddenly start to back off for no apparent reason. The weight of their own falsehoods will cause alliances that were impenetrable to fall apart, because they were never founded on reality in the first place. Systems that seem to be sound will eventually deteriorate and collapse. At this point, your energy is like a live X-ray. Without attempting, it looks at everyone and everything in your immediate vicinity. People will begin to stumble over their remarks, contradict themselves, get anxious, and avoid your gaze. That's revelation, not paranoia. You won't even be thinking about them, which is crazy. You won't be planning a revenge scheme. Anything artificial will no longer be able to exist in your presence, as you will be walking in honesty so naturally. When true power takes over, helpless people cannot live. You're going to discover that a large portion of the noise you previously believed you had to contend with was really weak energy, masquerading as strength. It will strike you then. The true struggle was always vigorous and never concerned showing oneself by words or deeds. Who could maintain the purest frequency under duress was the question. When everything around them required compromise, the question was, who could maintain their authenticity? Everything that isn't real will begin to come apart without you having to do anything, since you've won that invisible battle. To those who realize they can no longer stand next to the real, your quiet will sound like thunder. You were buried, but not forgotten. Number 7. You were silently sprouting teeth. You were hidden and never forgotten. Additionally, you were being equipped in ways that were not possible in the limelight, not because you were weak or losing. You were being taught in realms they couldn't even reach, while others thought you were irrelevant, washed up and out of the picture. You weren't wasting time sitting in the dark. Instead, you were developing spiritual weapons that do more than merely protect. They were gaining knowledge, discernment, fangs, and claws. The people who made fun of your quiet were unaware that it was the most perilous aspect of your development. They believed you were dying, but in reality, you were being strengthened. Because they don't realize that certain wars are fought in total obscurity, they saw your silence as a loss. They spent all that time getting ready for the return of the previous you, the one who could have been too willing to provide an explanation, too trusting, or too forgiving. However, the emerging star isn't operating under the same rules. You're returning to completely change the playing field, not to resume where you left off. What is ahead is a heavenly insurgency, not a soft comeback. It's a takeover driven by everything they totally undervalued, never saw, and never appreciated. You now use tactics that do more than just outsmart the enemy. They reveal it, strip it naked, and swap it out for something that advances your goals. You're doing in accordance with spiritual rules that don't need approval or authorization. Therefore, this time, no amount of opposition, sabotage, or rumor will be effective. While you were concealed, they weren't ready for the person you become. You are no longer vying for a place at someone's table. The table is you. The shift is you. The same people who laughed at your quiet will soon be unable to speak when they see that the person they believed they could foresee has changed into something they will never be able to stop. You were being weaponized, not forgotten. It's ready to launch now. 8th, you are a system collapse rather than just a danger to systems. You are the cause of the old system's collapse, not merely a threat to them. This isn't about getting attention or establishing a point. Not only is your return remarkable, but it is a seismic event that will rock the foundations of everything that you believed could get in your way. You are carrying a force that challenges outmoded hierarchies, oppressive, manipulative, and fear-based institutions and power structures. In unexpected ways, the existing quo is challenged by your mere presence. People believed they could exploit you, label you, discard you, or put you in a box. However, they will now experience what occurs when a system that was never intended to help you suddenly recognizes that it was not created for you. The very communities, institutions, and even family dynamics that believed they were immune to change are going to undergo an upheaval that will be impossible to control. Your climb isn't about improving or moving up in life. Rather, it's about everything that held you little collapsing. Everything that attempted to fit you into their limited ideas of power, strength, and success. The barriers they erected to prevent you from realizing your full potential were smoke, mirrors, and illusions that were always going to collapse when someone with your drive and ambition came along to knock them down. You are more than simply a single person returning to the game. You are a walking force that rewrites the rules, reveals flaws, and shakes everything that was constructed on shaky foundations. It's all about changing the roles individuals played and the power they believed they had over you. Workplace relations, social networks, and family structures will all be shaken by your homecoming. The things that formerly sought to define you, control you, or influence you will suddenly have to contend with an unexpected force. You are the one who rewrites their rules, the one who dismantles the existing order and imposes a new one. You are no longer just following their rules. This return is a revolution, not simply a personal one. Strategic divine concealment was the reason for your failure. Number 9. It was never an error that the world called your failure. It was a well-planned heavenly plan, a disguise so complex that even you were blind to it at the time. God was putting you in a situation where you might be undervalued, ignored while others rejoiced over what they believed to be your demise. You were concealed in the most obvious area, where nobody could witness the development of your actual strength or stop the silent creation of the masterpiece. Your shield was that alleged failure, long enough to strengthen your soul, sharpen your spirit, and rewire your destiny. It kept you out of the limelight.